Hey guys, so this video was a little bit of a surprise to me, even. Thanks to Sorry About Your Cats. Awesome guy, does some awesome sound shape stuff. And he loves cats, so automatically win. He gave me an Elder Scrolls Online beta code yesterday, so I downloaded the insanely huge game and update file. It was like a 39 gig game and like a 15 gig update file. Absolutely massive. Let it download all night. Took like 8 hours, but I was able to hop on it this morning when the servers went live and everything stopped working. So this is just sort of my first impressions, my thoughts, sort of an overview, and then some gameplay so you can see it once I stop talking and while I'm talking too about the Elder Scrolls Online beta, which essentially is like the full game. Really, like they had you download the entire game, but it's only lasting a few days or whatever till Monday. But I'm gone all weekend, so I don't really have a lot of time to play. So this is sort of first impressions, like I said. I'm pretty much just gonna touch it and leave it alone. Go back to Bloodborne, since it is a beta. But anyway, so let's get started off right with it. The character creation was pretty straightforward, I thought. You had your 3 different factions, 3 different races in each faction, and then you had to pick between 4 different subclasses. All the subclasses were the same throughout all of the factions and races. It just sort of depends on, it narrows down a little bit what you want to hone in on each character, because really you can do anything you want with any character you have, but certain races, get boosts to like certain weapon types or magic or stats or something. So it makes more sense to use a certain race from a certain faction with a certain class, right? Because you get like, I picked a Dark Elf. I love the Dark Elves. And so they got a 15% skill boost, gain boost to dual wielding, which, I love my dual wielding. So it makes sense to use dual with him because you could, obviously level that up really quickly. And it was a noticeable difference. I definitely varied that between that and two-handed, and it was very noticeable. It really shot up there. The weird thing though is I went through the whole character creation process, and not that I really wanted to because I was just trying to jump into the gameplay anyway, but it never really directly offered me a chance to mess with appearances like at all, what my character looked like at all. Body type, nothing. I'm sure there was an option for it down below somewhere that I just overlooked because I was focused on how to build the actual part of my character that matters. But still, like usually you pick your character, your race, and your class, and then it's like, okay, what do you want it to look like? It's just a natural flow into the next thing. This did not have that at all, right? It had to been like a side thing or something like that it completely escaped me. So I ended up with some ugly looking dark elf with red, like pixie cut hair. Fuck, I didn't pick that shit, but it is what it is, right? So if you're going into this, watch out for that, especially if you're going to stick with the character for a while, like you have to do with MMOs. I want to make him look cool, right? So I don't know what was up with that. But that's fine, because it made up for it with the beginning tutorial. One in, it was actually really interesting. You start off in this jail cell, and this woman breaks you out, and actually it's a really interesting story start. It kind of pulls you in just a little bit to the story. It was cool. Very minor spoilers here, really nothing. But you go through, and she sort of teaches you, you learn along the way how to fight, the common button pressing stuff, how to block, how to counter, stuff like that. And then there's a very mini boss that you have to fight, and then you have to break this guy out of prison. You were in prison, this other guy's out of prison, so she sort of sacrifices herself so you can get this more powerful guy out of prison to help with a war, right? And that's what's going on. And so it was pretty cool. It was visually engaging. The atmosphere was really kind of dark. It was mysterious. It was really kind of nice, and you're seeing some of that right now if I sync things up properly. I thought it was a really good entry tutorial, right, into the game, because MMOs are always extremely they're extremely difficult to jump into, right? Because it's a very large learning curve amongst everything. Yes, you can play one MMO another, and you sort of understand how it works. So if it's your first MMO, that's always the worst of all. But you sort of understand. But it takes a little while for you to really get the hang of things, right? To really understand what's going on and to really pick up on stuff. Even down to, I need these items, I don't need these items. What can I sell? What can't I sell? Right? So that was interesting. But after that, once you complete that pretty mini, took like 20 minutes maybe, probably less than that. I was kind of dicking around for a little while. There were a few chests and stuff. Once you complete that tutorial session, that's it. It just sort of throws you in there. Literally, it says, oh, like in the game, literally, you can quote it, do whatever you want. And it came up like 3 or 4 times. And it's like, okay, this is a really big game. It would be nice to have some direction, you know, something. There are a few side quests that I could pick from. But, like, what the hell? Like, this is, you just dumped in the big city. Absolutely everything is there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've played 1, 2, 3, like 5 MMOs, something like that, in the past like 4 years. Dabbled in them a little bit, maybe a few more years than that, whatever. I played plenty of MMOs, but this just felt really kind of strange. You had a really nice tutorial intro section, and then that's it, and then it just dumps you in, which I guess is okay. Like, sure, learn to stand on your own 2 feet, but it was just weird how there was no even little mini transition in there. That's just what it was. And so I ended up picking up 3 quests. Want to go do 1 quest to a totally new area, and then all my other quests disappeared in a random glitch. I later died, and then 10 minutes after I died, the quest came back in my inventory. So there was a big glitch there that was kind of annoying, because I had completed 1 quest, picked up another one, and then the quests just went away. Like, I just all of a sudden had nothing to do, which was really annoying. So definitely a big glitch that wasn't meant to happen. It wasn't because I picked up a new quest. That was the main thing. It was a side quest, whatever. So that was kind of weird. The other sort of weird thing with this was the loading times. You traditionally don't get a lot of loading times unless you're going from, you know, like one large area to another in MMOs. But this one had some interesting loading times, because anytime the large areas are completely loaded and rendered, right? Those were really nice. You go into the main map and you could run around, you know, the wilderness and everything like that. That was fine. But when you go into the town, and it's just like Skyrim, because, you know, Elder Scrolls Online it felt a lot like Skyrim, which is one of the most recent one. So anytime you go into a building, something, you'd suffer through a really long loading time. Like, just to, you know, usually participate in a quest or something, you'd go into this room and it'd take a solid 30 seconds sometimes just to load the room. Part of me thinks that's because it's sort of trying to separate those who are just running around and those who are doing quests, sort of to take down on the player load a little bit. So you see reduced lag, sort of keeps some people in one little server area, if you want to call it that. So that might be it. But it just kind of made you kind of fall out of place in MMO, because usually MMO things move around right away, really quickly, because you're doing a lot of stuff. You have a lot of places to go, long distances to travel. You know, you don't need another thing bogging you down. And that was an interesting thing I thought too. With the first few quests that it made you do, at least that I picked up, some of the side quests I found, really made you run a lot. Like in some MMOs, yeah, it's like go to this area, and then, you know, do this, and then maybe come back and turn in what you have, right? This one was interesting. It was like, go to this area, find this person, and go all the way across the map, find that person, and go all the way back across the map, find that person, and the person you want to talk to originally is now against on the other side of the map. It's like, why couldn't you just have them be standing where they were? Because I'm already sort of around there. It was really weird. It made you run. I did it a few times. It really made you run a lot further than you really needed to ever for a quest. There was one of the quests that I completed was sort of the main storyline, I'm guessing. It had me go watch this destruction on a boat, and you'll see that at the end here, because it was actually kind of a cool scene. But it was really cool for about 10 seconds, and then everything was over, and it was like, oh, now come back and find me again. And he was way back where I started from. It's like, I really didn't need to see this. Maybe you could have shown me a cutscene to overlay the demonstration you wanted to give. He was giving me a demonstration or whatever about destruction. I was like, you could have easily done the cutscene. You wouldn't have to make me teleport all the way over there and then run all the way back just to talk to you and literally do nothing. It was just like, okay, maybe not the best plan, right? So, I don't know. That was just weird. Another thing I thought was kind of different than traditional MMO was the mobs. You normally see in MMOs, so there's usually like areas of enemies where there's a decent amount of mobs and stuff, and you really didn't have that in this one. Maybe in some of the wilderness I saw you did have some areas which had higher concentrations of enemies, but if you're participating in a quest line, all the quest lines are in separate areas for the most part, from what I saw. And so those quest areas are loaded in with, you know, a higher volume of people. So I went through 2 or 3 quests where I didn't have to kill anything because everyone else was already in there killing stuff, which most people are like, oh yeah, do it for you. I'm like, no, I want to get the loot, I want to get the experience, everything that goes along with it, right? To practice fighting with my new weapons and all that. But it didn't give me any of that opportunity, which really kind of sucked, right? I mean, I understand the whole MMO thing, yes, is people are on there supposed to help you, and it will get more difficult. Totally understand that. Definitely would be better off like that in the end. But it's just kind of weird. Maybe they could load in smaller volumes of people into certain areas or something like that. Maybe it would even reduce the load even more, and so it makes it a little more challenging, because it was sort of a walk in the park for the most part. The level up system was pretty cool, pretty straightforward. I mean, you get this big bushy thing. It's traditional experience, and everything that you're using, you have one piece of certain armor equipped, or a sword, depends on what weapons you're using. If you're using like a two-handed sword, that's all going to level up with the same amount of experience as you use. Any experience goes towards it all, as far as what I understood from it. You get skill points you can apply to certain skills, and there's active and passive skills, and that's pretty much what it is. The really, really big disappointing thing for me, when you think of an MMO, you think of making your character your own, right? Like unlocking those really cool skills, making them like just awesome. You don't really have that in Elder Scrolls Online. It's really just, it's a disappointment. You go in, and depending on what race and class you picked, you're going to have certain set of skills, particularly class. So you have 3 skill trees. None of them are branched, by the way. They're all linear skill trees, so you don't get to select anything different. You have 3 different skill trees that you pick from based on the subclass you picked. And you can level those up as you go along, pick whatever skill you want. And then, depending on what weapons you get, you also get another linear skill tree. Depending on what armor you have linear skill tree. There was only a few things you really got to pick from. So it was just it was extremely lackluster, to be completely honest. Like, just really lackluster. Because I like to go in there and be like, okay, I want to make this certain type of character based off of these skills, sort of branching in this direction, maybe mix it up a little bit this way. But instead, if someone picks like the same thing, you're going to end up with the same skills, right? Because there's clearly better ones than not. And it's all linear, so as long as you go along leveling yourself up, you're going to unlock everything the same. You really don't have that sort of customization you normally get in a traditional MMO. So that was really a shame. And even the weapons themselves, I mean, you had two-handed sword, sword and shield, dual swords, destruction staff, and restoration staff. And I think that was it. I might be missing one in there. But, I mean, you don't have anything. Did I say dual swords? Dual wielding? Well, dual wielding is one of them too. But, I mean, you don't really have many options like you did. And even in just Skyrim, you could have magic in one hand, which is sort of omnipotent thing now, and sword in the other, and it just made it feel like a little bit more customizable again, which you really just don't have that. It's sort of limited to just the few weapon types, and no subclasses in there. So, and you get the same moves again. It's a linear skill tree, so you don't even get to pick. You get the same paths for all the people using that same weapon. They're going to unlock the same moves as you and pick the same ones as you. At least from what I saw on the few hours that I played, it's straightforward, and there's really not a lot of customization to it. You do get a specific skill based off of your race and subclass matchup, which was kind of interesting, but nothing super exciting, at least not the one that I picked, so maybe there might be some better ones in there. It is what it is. Crafting, of course, is back like in any MMO, so you're going to pick up a bunch of items that are used for crafting and stuff, and most of the time you just ignore it. So at least they didn't push that on you this far, so that was kind of nice. But overall, really, it just felt like Skyrim. The item menu I'm not a huge fan of. That was in Skyrim 2. It feels really chunky, kind of tedious to work through everything, and you can easily get lost, and it's always really small. So those are the small TV or something like I had. It's just sort of a pain to follow through with everything. There's really no stat comparison. It's just not very efficient menu. It works, absolutely works, but it's just really not that well done. It should have been improved from Skyrim, and it never was. It just takes forever to go through stuff, and that sucks. The map as well was really frustrating because it's super small. It only takes up like a third of the screen, but you can't do anything else. Everything else blurs out, so what's the fucking point of taking up a third of the screen if you're going to blur everything else out? Just take up the whole screen, and then when you go to look at your quests, because you can only look at your quests from having the map up, and there was no option I found for turning like a side quest list on or a mini map or something like that. I didn't see anything like that. Yes, you have the thing on top from Skyrim that's just sort of your mini map, but I'd rather have something a little more efficient than that. I think the map should take up the whole screen because you couldn't even zoom in that far. Like you had options to zoom in and out. You could zoom out really far, but zooming out, it does literally nothing for you because you're already at the zoom in is like the maximum field of view for the map pretty much, so it shows almost the entire area. So zooming out is just pointless. So the icons are really small. It was just a pain to see. Map was pretty awful. Especially trying to set waypoints and stuff. It just does not work very well. And even the mini-map, you have the what do I want to call it, the compass on top. Really difficult to see your waypoints at a distance. Like if I set a waypoint, sure, it may be far away, but show me that the waypoint is there on the compass. Don't have it really faded out and really far away, because then I'm still not going to know how to get there, right? You can have it, you know, when you get closer, change color or something. I don't know, but do something else, right? There was also third person in this, which was pretty welcomed for most people. It worked fine. It was no different to me than first person. I liked first person a little bit more because it felt like Skyrim. I wanted to play Skyrim, but you could zoom out really far in the third person, so that was really nice. Other than that, you can use it. You'll be fine. And really, I found a few hours I played, there were a lot of glitches. Like I said, the quest disappearing on me, like, completely, then coming back randomly, just when I checked, that was a really big glitch. A lot of the NPCs disappeared, so you had to wait for them to come back, and that's, I mean, loading time and rendering, all that sort of process, it may not be considered a glitch, but, you know, nonetheless, if it's an NPC you need to talk to, like I wanted to go to the blacksmith once to sell some stuff, he just wasn't there. I had to wait for, like, the talk icon was there, but because his character hadn't loaded, he would not load to talk to, so I couldn't actually do my business. So that was really disappointing. Also, for the amount of time I played, I found a lot of graphical errors. Just all sorts of graphics dropping in and out, colors changing. There were a bunch of color rectangles that would appear randomly when I was attacking. At one point in time, like, my arm just completely glitched out. It went green and then completely, like, disappeared, and my weapon was there, and it was a mess. It really was. So the really needs to be some improvement in the graphical department there, absolutely. I mean, things rendered fast, like I never saw a lag drop or frame rate drop or anything really, which was impressive, you know, considering probably the volume in the beta. But, you know, if you're fighting, you know, you don't want something distracting, like someone shot or I think I shot the fireball at an enemy, and instead of a firewall going through, it was just a bunch of green and yellow and red rectangles that just traversed across the sky, and it was fantastically beautiful, like an awesome firework, but it just didn't work in the environment. It just didn't. So, gotta work with that. Thank God it's a beta, really, because, yeah, you know, then catch these things and test them and improve them and stuff like that. Hopefully. But again, I think they only have like 6 weeks until this thing comes out, which is not a lot of time. So I don't know, keep an eye on it. I'm not picking it up. I didn't plan on picking it up. This definitely reconfirms that I'm not going to be picking it up. So that's my 2 cents. Enjoy what video I've played. I'll play a little bit more maybe. We'll see what the timing's like. I still got to throw this all together. But I'm out of here. I'm going to go play some more Bloodborne.
Hello there.
Hello. Hello there.
You have brought credit to your house. This is a great thing. Our victory is complete. Even now the Covenant retreats. You gave me enough time to summon Bulreth. As Grand Master of House Indoril, I honor you. Bulreth has done its job. The Covenant has been driven from Dalvin's watch. I'm not exactly sure. I made use of ancient rites and secret law to wrench him from his cell. Saw the conclusion of my efforts. My able son Garin even now works to return him to his slumber. He will guide your hand. You'll find Garin west of the city, on the slopes of Ash Mountain. I sent a detachment of soldiers with him to ensure his safety. You've done well here, soldier. Bulreth is one of 2 ancient magical juggernauts, the Brothers of Strife. Their story is too long to tell now.
There you are, Vestige. We must speak at once. Listen well. I have located a safe harbor from which we might plan our course of action. You must meet me there. I awoke to choking ash in the air and the sounds of strife. I am in Morrowind, home of the Dark Elves, in a city called Davon's Watch.